What is up? Welcome to Breaking Free Speech. It's been a while since we've done a podcast for the skate park, and we're going to talk about that as well as some other things. So, why don't you just settle down and relax to soothing sounds of my voice? So, we're going to talk a little bit about the skate park. That's what we do here. I don't have my computer today. I made a little outline on paper and pencil, doing it old school. Today, we're just going to talk about where the podcast has been, where the podcast is going, and then we're going to talk about some COVID stuff, big COVID update, kind of give you a little story of what's gone on at the skate park. So, first of all, preface. I have the greatest job in the world, and I wouldn't give it up for anything in the world. If I was a billionaire tomorrow, I would still do this. Of course, in that case, I could afford to hire some people, and that would help a lot, but I'd still be there. My name's attached to it. I'm giving it 110%. I swear. If I was stupid rich, billions of dollars, I'm still going to be sitting there at the skate park every day we're open. Maybe sometimes I'd try to skip out, to do this or do that. Like, one of the big things that kind of stinks about running the skate park is I'm there all day, every Saturday, forever, and Saturdays are the days that cool things happen. So I just don't get to do any cool things, like if I want to do a mountain bike race or a disc golf tournament, or visit my friends, or friends want to come visit me. They're off on the weekends. I work all the weekends, so that could change if I had $1 billion, but I don't have $1 billion, so that's not going to change. So I'll be there. So, with that preface out, I am only one person, okay? The park is open. The open operating hours of the skate park are 48 hours. I'm there every minute of that. And then with ladies' night and other holidays, I am lucky to get 3 days off a month. And again, greatest job in the world. Not super hard, but just giving you some perspective. You combine that many open hours with, obviously I get there a little 15 minutes early. I stay 15 minutes late. We have Monday stuff, which is like adding up all the deposits from the course of the week, taking that deposit to the bank. Then we have ramp work. I teach lessons. I do the filming. I do the editing. I do podcasts sometimes. And then with the constant stream of DMs, it's a lot. It's a lot. It just never ends. I wake up with Facebook messages and Instagram messages, and it is a lot. So I've switched a little bit, and we've been doing some vlogs. If you've been paying attention to the YouTube channel, maybe we'll try to put a thing here with the vlog. If I remember to do that when I edit it, I probably won't. So basically, I use digital media to disseminate information, because there's things I want, the viewers to know, my customers to know. And I know not everyone that comes in watches the podcast, and some of you do. You usually get like 150 views, and maybe those people share that information with their friends. Good. It's very important to massage the environment and the culture of the skate park, to let people know that I'm trying really hard, that it's not easy, that sometimes things happen at the skate park, and I need people to know where I stand on those issues, so they know. If you listen to the podcast, I'm all about transparency. So I have switched my dissemination of information to more of the vlog format versus the podcast. And partially is that because the past 2 years I've had Josh. Josh worked for us. He did some counter time. He did some video work. He did mostly traditional action sports video content, just clips, music, and riding. That's what he was good at. That's what he did. He didn't really want to do anything outside of that. So I was like, all right, I'll do the podcast. I'll disseminate the information. He could do the entertainment stuff, versus the vlog, where you combine both the entertainment and the information. So since then, since he left, I've been doing the video content. So I've been doing all the filming, all the editing, trying to get my info in there. And so I'm not going to come in here in the studio and do the podcast because I'm already editing and doing all the stuff. Because obviously if I spend, 2 hours to do a podcast, that's 2 more hours on top of the, 65 hours I've already worked. And I often do podcasts for some Wrench Life, my personal podcasts. I do those occasionally too. So it's just stacking a lot of stuff. Okay. But on that note, with the new YouTube content, we've been doing the Friday Fives. If you've watched that, they've been cool. Short videos, 5 clips, trying to get a couple angles at each clip, trying to make them kind of nice, kind of artsy, explore my artistic expression. The viewers comment what their favorite clip of the 5 clips were, and then later on I'm gonna make a mixtape of all the best clips. If you want a Friday 5, if you want one, comment. Say, hey Dave, I want a Friday 5. As long as you can do 5 clips, we can do it. There have to be tricks though. I'm not adverse to doing a Friday 5 with intermediate and beginner riders, but just jumping something is just not quite enough, I don't think. Although we could try it, see what the customer response is. Most of our Friday 5s have been pretty good riders. That's entertaining, but my goal was to make a type of content that was attainable and relatable. It's not, here's 5 clips that are all fire. It's which is the best, which is the most fire. So it's only, you're ranking clip 1 against clip 2, 3, and 4 within that one edit, and you're not comparing it to the other Friday 5s. So in that theory, it could be a complete beginner just doing 5 basic clips. And I think that's cool. I think that's really cool. I'd love to do a Friday 5 with like a 9-year-old kid who's just learning. I think that would be really cool. Because that's content you don't really see. And as much as watching like Bard go hard, people, a lot of our viewers want to see more relatable content. I would think. Moving along. Oh, one more thing about filming. If you are a filmer, reach out to me. I'm always looking for more YouTube content. If we could work out some agreement where you could do some film work for me, I mean, it's got to be pretty decent. And I could compensate you in some way or another. Get some stuff on our YouTube channel. I'm not adverse to that. So as far as breaking free speeches going forward, I would like to continue to do the really in-depth conversations about sports. But again, I'm only one person. In the past, I really used this podcast as almost as almost like a news show kind of for the skate park. This is what happened. This is what happened. But I really do want to get down into the nitty gritty. I'd love to get some, a biker or a skater on who's, really analytical and let's talk about bike pegs. Let's talk about width, diameter, material, how long they last, what they sound like what pegs do you obviously some of that content will be very narrow to specific domains. Less people will want to engage with it, but I think that's a really cool place to go. And I think that's about it. All I really had here for the podcast talk. Yeah, I just want to have in-depth conversation with riders and figureheads in action sports. That's pretty much it. I mean, if you want to be on the podcast, comment below or reach out. Let me know. We can try to make it work. One weird thing about the podcast though is I do this in my the studio is in my house where I live, so that gets kind of weird. But I have brought the podcast set up to the skate park in the past to do that because sometimes it's weird to just invite people into my house, right? Whatever. Moving along. Obviously, this has been a tumultuous year. COVID, I mean, I could probably do 4 different podcasts just about stuff pertaining to COVID and the skate park because it's been different for sure. But I wanted to focus on a specific element in how, we've managed this. So I wrote a little bit out last night to try to get my thoughts apart a little bit clearer. Sometimes I just shoot from the hip. It gets a little confusing, but whatever. So I wrote, in 2016, I put everything I owned on the line because I knew I could make it work. because I knew you would be here for me. I knew the support would be here to pull it off. I believed I could take what I had seen work, what I had seen not work at other skate parks, and then I could do it right. Now, everyone thinks they could do it right. But I've really tried to put my biases aside and look at the data. When I came to Rochester years ago to work with the other skate park, I had a bunch of assumptions about what we could do to help. And turns out basically all of them, well, not all of them, but many of them were wrong because I just didn't know. And I find time and time again when people I talk to talk about skate parks and action sports in generally, I constantly in my head I'm going, this person has no idea what they're talking about and they think they know. Unless you, this goes for anything. Unless you are like on the ground every day in that particular domain, you probably don't know. So take yourself down a notch. Okay. So yeah, I saw what worked and didn't work, and I thought I could do it right. This also meant that I was taking a lot of flack from people. This meant I'm often smiling and nodding at all of the suggestions that I knew wouldn't work. People constantly saying stuff, oh, you should do this, you should do that. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I'm not going to tell you that I'm never going to do this, but I'm never going to do that. There's one piece to BFS that it would have never happened without. This was a really great friend, Jeff. This is actually Jaden's father. He owns a consulting company. Jeff somehow made me into a business owner. I'm not sure how. And I'd be no one and nothing without his guidance. And I am so forever grateful for what he showed me in planning and organization. He helped keep me on a trajectory and planned and organized, and the whole process of what BFS was going to be and how we were going to do it and benchmarking data. Since then, I outline and plan everything. I love making spreadsheets of data. I like to optimize things. If you know, any of you know me closely, I love a good spreadsheet. I like doing my research, laying it out so I can compare and contrast and then go from there. And if you come to the skate park, you fill in the sign-in sheet. The sign-in sheet gives me a lot of data. I could use that data to try to make sure what I do is aimed at the customers that are at the park. I look at every detail when I go into other businesses, and not just skate parks or skate shops, like everything, restaurants, whatever. I'm looking at what do they do here? What's their branding look like? How many employees they have? Like, I'm trying to see, because there'll be little things I can pick from here, little things I can pick from there that can help optimize the skate park. There's just so much to learn, and with a $100,000 lease, I have to be smart. I have been, I'm generally pretty frugal, or if you don't know that word, I'm cheap. I've tried to not bite off more than I can chew. I've tried to have really slow and steady growth at breaking free. I have not tried to bite off more than I can chew. I've tried to just every year expand, a little more inventory. Maybe we'll get shirts this year. Maybe we'll do shop decks this year. Just a little bit at a time. I want to make sure I have full control over what we're doing before I'm adding more stuff on the plate. Also, I am not afraid to go against the grain and try new things that might help the skate park. And that's one of the things that Jeff told me. Try everything. You don't know what might end up being a revenue stream that works out for you. We make no money on we don't do birthday parties, but I do tons of lessons now. We've raised the price on lessons twice. I'm booked 2 weeks out right now on skate lessons. It's pretty crazy. I probably could even charge more on that. But like I said, you got to be open to trying new things. So basically, I've made something out of nothing in my personal life, and I've made BFS rise from the ashes of what was RASP, and with all the time and energy I've put into this, I will not go down quietly. I have a little sip of water here. So let's talk about this past year and the COVID. Just like how I started the park. There's a reason I explained all that. I'm not afraid against the go grain. I'm going to do what I think is the best option. I'm going to try to make the trade-offs. I'm trying, let's do it. Like that's like, I'm not going to sit back and take it. Obviously COVID came around. It was scary. This was unprecedented. It was super scary. We closed in March, and then I was sitting there like, oh, this can't be how it ends. I have $9,000 a month rent. Like, I can't be closed for 6 months. Like, that's it. It's a death sentence, flat out, period. And if the skate park closes, it's not as simple as close up the doors and leave. There's a mess here. And the property company is going to come in and they're going to have to dispose of the ramps, and they're going to charge me that. So it's not even just closing. It's closing plus whatever I owe, a personal guarantee for 2 more years on the lease, and the cost of removing all of those ramps. So if I fail, it's not just failure. It's failure plus probably $50,000 of debt, maybe. So you can understand a lot of incentive to not go quietly, which I won't. So we ended the year pretty strong last year. I think I've talked about this before. We had a little extra money in the bank account. It was supposed to be like basically the rest of my pay. I don't pay myself a lot at the end of the year. If there's a little bit left over, I can get that. Maybe a lot of time in the past, I've reinvested it. This past year, I think I was like, after getting, 3 years in at that time, I was like, we've done pretty good. Maybe I could deserve a little bit of a bonus. But with the murmurs of COVID and everything, I was like, let's hold off. So when COVID hit, we had some extra money in the account there. We had already been saving up. By March, I should be pretty well saved up for summer months. So we had a little safety net. We closed. All right. Now what? Basically, the situation for reopening was, I'll just be frank. Like I tell you guys everything anyway. When I had less than 10 grand in the bank account, that's when I reopened. That was the rule in my head. Like, so my rent is 9, and there's all the other bills. So we're doing private rentals. It's a trickle of cash. We're not making really much doing it. But I was like, in my head, I go, when that bank account gets below 5 digits, we're in the danger zone. We are no longer going to cover our expenses for 1 month of not being open. So, mid-June, here it comes. Coming toward that number. One more rent payment at the end of the month, and the bank account's gone. And then I'm just falling into the red. So, I did what I've always done. I've done it my way. I have said, screw this. I'm opening. I'm not willing to lay down and die. Frankly, I'm just not going to do it. So I reopened. And to my surprise, we did pretty well. And as people learned we were open, we continued to do pretty well. And in August, we did damn near double what we would normally do in a summer month. It was unbelievable. Did the same thing in September. The increased ridership in the lockdown really helped us. I think being the only place that was open helped us. The whole situation was like, there's a lot of people that want you to make it sound like it was really, really black and white. And this is something I'm going to try to be careful with talking about, because everything has become so political. Everything is like black and white. It's all super partisan. If you are on this side, then you must be this and that and that. And I don't, it's a little bit crazy. I did a piece on my other podcast, Wrench Life, where I talked about this little culture war we're in. So really, when I'm saying all of this, I don't want any of you listeners to try to paint me as any particular political ideology or abstraction you might think I am because of anything I'm saying. This is coming purely from a standpoint of what I explained earlier about, DIY or die, and I'm not going to go quietly, and I'm like, let's keep the skate park alive. So, moving forward. We killed it. We did amazing in the fall. It was unbelievable. I opened up June 15th. If I had listened to New York State, I would have not been allowed to be open until August. Now, if by the end of June, I would have been zero in the bank account for not getting cash flow that month. So I would have been in 10 grand debt. Or I've been zero for June, right? I'd be in 10 grand debt for July. I would have been in 20 grand debt for August. So if I listened to New York State, by the time I would have opened, I would have been at a minimum in $20,000 of debt. At a minimum, $20,000 debt. Not counting everything else. We've done so well since reopening. It's actually possible that we could have actually waited it out and then still been okay because we've done so well for the end of the year. But there's no way of knowing it. It was an unprecedented situation, and all I knew was I'm not going to just lay down and die. Like, I don't care what the state says or the government tells me. It's like, if you, the customer, are willing to come in and ride, I want to be there so you can ride, so I can get your $12 and I can apply that to rent. Things can only be shut down for so long before everything is going to be gone, right? So let's move into the fall. We move into the winter time. Killing it. We did record numbers. It's unbelievable. We almost did 200 people on one day, which is just crazy. We actually finished this year 5% up from last year with having been closed for 3 months. That is crazy. Now, even going through all that, you have to take into account that, one, I didn't pay myself for 2 months. And then when I did, I barely paid myself. We did get $10,200 from the PPP program. We recently got another $10,000 grant to help. And we had to absorb $20,000 of last year's profits and summer savings. So even doing that well, that means we had to absorb, $60,000, which is crazy. So it's like a catch-22. There's no way we would have been this busy had there not been the COVID lockdown. So you can't say we would have crushed it this year had there not been the lockdown, because there's no way to know that. And be skeptical of anyone that tries to tell you anything that, it would have been this way. That's like a political thing. X politician would have handled COVID better. And it's like, well, you have no way of knowing. Now you could speculate, but people say flat out, this was bad and it should have been this way. It's like, you have no way of knowing, period. So let's be a little skeptical because you don't know. So anyway, we finished the year strong. We are in a great position right now. I can tell you confidently, BFS is not going anywhere. I said that in the lockdown, in our podcast. I was probably way more concerned than I let on in those podcasts because I had no idea. But I wanted you to have faith in me because that would help me have faith in me. But we're in a good position now. The vaccine's rolling out, although the vaccine seems to be not, we still have to go for herd immunity, it looks like, because the vaccine just prevents you from getting seriously ill and dying. It's not actually conclusive whether it stops it from spreading or how long it lasts, but this should at least simmer that situation down so we can start to simmer the economy back up, which would be good for everyone. I know I'd like to go to a concert again, but whenever that happens, that happens. I'm not an immunologist or whatever. So we're not going anywhere. We're in a really good situation now. I hope things stay strong. I hope all the people that continue to ride during the lockdown continue to ride. And we'll see what happens in this coming year. This will be the first year BFS is going to coexist with the Rock City skate park, so that'll be a whole thing there. But I just want to, before the last section, I just want to say how incredibly thankful I am for you guys, for everyone coming in, everyone supporting the skate park, getting us through this, because it could have very, very, very easily went another way. There's a lot of other parks that didn't make it. There's a lot of other skate parks that are struggling, really struggling right now, and I feel your pain. I think one of the reasons that we made it through this strong is because of because of the resilience in this in the business model we have, because of the let's leave that money in the account because we don't know what's going to happen. I'm not going to listen to the state entirely because I got to keep the business open. There's got to be a little bit of gray area. And if you just bowed down and did everything the state told you and just lived in fear all the time, there might not be a skate park here if I did that. You don't know, but whatever. So lastly, this is a contentious topic, and I almost don't even want to talk about it. I'd almost rather it just be hush hush like it has been. But if you come to the park, it's not easy to notice. No, it's very easy to notice that we are not really very strict on the mask policy. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not super comfortable with that. But I'm also not very comfortable with being the arbiter of masks. I don't work for the state. It's like this weird situation where they're like, executive order, you have to wear masks. If you don't wear masks, they'll shut down your business. So here, Dave, business owner, on top of all of the hoop you've already jumped through, on top of the shutdown and everything else, if you're going to open, you have to enforce this rule that we've decided. And it's like, okay, I get it. Totally get it. Like, I personally wear my mask most of the time at the skate park. When there's anyone around, my mask is on. Unless it's one of my immediate friends, my mask is on. If I go anywhere, I wear my mask. Like, whatever. But that's me, and that's my body. I wear my mask when people get close to me, right? My body. You have your body. When people come to the skate park and the mom asks me, what's the mask policy? I say, well, I revert back to mom. You do what your mom says. If your mom wants you to wear it all the time, keep it on. Like, I'm not your mom. I don't have your body. I don't know your risk factors. Like, I say we have this common sense rule, and I tell people, like, if there's people around, put it on. If there's no one around you, don't. If you're uncomfortable with it and someone else say, hey, can you put it on? And I'm telling everyone to respect everyone. Like, this idea of it's consensual, it's mutual respect. Like, and if someone isn't, you can feel free to come to the counter and say, Dave, there's someone who wasn't, and I asked them to, and they wouldn't, and I will go tell them to. But the situation we're in now is like this. They're trying to, like, the state is telling you what you have to do, and then they're making me be the police officer for the thing. And it's like, I don't want to tell you what to do. Like, I'm not in the business of telling you what to do with your body. I mean, you either wear your helmet for sure. Like, absolutely wear your helmet. And you could really make a strong argument between masks being like the helmet. Really, like, totally, I could make that argument against me. But what the data has showed is people aren't, at least the people that are coming to skate park aren't as concerned. I think part of it is risk aversion, risk assessment. I think if you ride, you skate, you scooter, you bike, you understand risk management. So you understand, okay, I'm safer with the mask than without the mask. I'm safer distancing. I'm safer distancing and wearing the mask. And you understand as you stack all these things, you become more and more safe. But you also understand there's an element of risk. And if you want to do really cool tricks, you have to have a higher element of risk. And in this COVID world, if you want to have a life that more closely resembles a normal life, you have to assume more risk. And then that's not to say that you should increase other people's risk. You should mask and do all the other stuff. But I'm just going down the wormhole here. When we reopened, we were on top of the rule. As more time went on and more data went on and the cases kind of came down, I started to get a little more lax with it. Then we went back to code orange, and it was like, man, like, do I want to really go around and yell at everyone constantly? It's like, the skate park's mostly teenagers, they're not going to listen. It's going to be stressful. And like, I know I'm comparing my stress to people dying, but what the data has shown is that my customers, I feel like they respect that I give them the freedom to choose, that I'm not going to cramp down on them what I think they need to do, or I'm not going to just obey what I've told to do. It's like, it's your body, it's your choice. Or if you're under 18, your parents should dictate what you should do, not me. I'm not your mom. And I'll even admit there's times that there's so many people at the skate park, I think it's beyond what's really kind of acceptable. But everyone that's there has consented to being there. Everyone that goes in there walks in, they look around, they see the situation, and they decide, or their parent decides, whether they think it's acceptable to leave their kid or to ride themselves. If you're a consenting adult or a parent consenting for your child, and you look around and you see the situation and you go, yeah, I'm fine with that. Okay. I'll take your $12. You can ride. Awesome. Who am I to get in the way of your ability to ride? What I'm here to do is to give you a place to ride, to offer you a controlled environment where you can express yourself. Now, two things before we end. I will tell you the story about we got a complaint with the state, which is funny. And as far as any cases traced back to the skate park, Zero contact tracing back to the skate park. None, not a single one, not a single phone call, nothing. The data suggests the kids are at a lower risk. Skate park patrons are mostly kids. Most parents wear the masks. A lot of the kids don't. We've had no issues. The data actually supports that. The data actually supports it's really only the old people that are at risk, and there aren't a lot of people over 65 at the skate park. Now, the complaint. Let me tell you the story about the complaint. This is a good story. This woman comes in. Probably a Karen. And, when someone walks in the skate park and they're new, they're looking around. And as someone that basically lives there, when someone's new, you can just tell by the way they're walking around, oh, it's their first time. So I'm like, hi, welcome to skate park. It's your first time here. They're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, well, we got a waiver. You have to fill out the waiver. And she's like, well, I want to go look around first and make sure that this is safe for my child. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm like, you can go up the stairs, take a peek at the skate park. And then she goes, why are there people in there that aren't wearing masks? And I said, well, that's because the mask is optional in the riding area, ma'am. And she's like, really? I said, yes. We have 22,000 square feet and 35-foot ceilings and a fresh air intake furnace. I think we're pretty good. Pretty good situation. And then, as she says that, of course, one of the scooter kids comes rolling from the park right into the shop. Doesn't have his mask on yet. And she goes, well, what about him? And I was like, he just rolled into the shop. And then she turns around and there's someone else, maybe it's like Austin Johns or something. And she's like, well, what about him? And I said, well, ma'am, we kind of have like a common sense rule. If there's people around you, we ask people to put them on. Right now, there's, 15 people in the whole park. There's 3 people in the shop. There's not a lot of risk going around. And then she goes, I get it. You're Trump supporters here. And I was just blown away. Her tone was so dehumanizing. It's disgusting, frankly. Now, I am not a Trump supporter. If you've been to the skate park, I had an Andrew Yang sign in the window for like at least a year. Andrew Yang's main policy was universal basic income. That is a extremely left position. Now, I didn't necessarily like him because of the UBI, but I am not a Republican. I am not a Trump supporter. That is insane. To assume because of one thing you see at the skate park that we are, as if anyone that worked here or associated with the skate park is a Trump supporter, is insane. This is the element of that like this culture tension we have that I talked about on my other podcast, the Wrench Life one. This culture war where it's like, someone you disagree with has to be this political abstraction. So if you do this, then you must be X, Y, and Z. And it's just insane. So, needless to say, the woman left with her kid. You could see the kid was like, man, I want to ride. And his mom was like, no. All right. Okay, whatever. Literally the only time that has happened. Period. Only time. So then, fast forward 2 weeks later, I get a phone call. And it's like, I'm like, Breaking Free Skate Park. And he's like, hi, Breaking Free Skate Park. This is so-and-so from the Rochester Fire Department. And immediately I'm going, holy crap. Like, what did I do? Like, I'm like, did I break a fire code? Are they coming to do an inspection? I'm like, why the hell is the fire company calling me? Is there a gas leak? I'm like kind of freaking out. And the guy's hilarious. He's like, yeah, so here's the deal. When someone files a COVID complaint with the state takes those complaints and then they give them to the local fire departments, and then we call you and let you know. It's weird, right? I was like, yeah, that is kind of weird. And I'm thinking, what is this? And he says, okay, well, you're not in trouble. There's no fine. There's no summons. We don't even follow up with you. All we have to do is we just call you and let you know, and then we read you the complaint, and then you take that information and within your organization and your management, you do what you want to do with it. I was like, oh, okay. Okay, so anyway, that's pretty much it. The woman said, actually, no, I should tell you. Well, I can only paraphrase because I don't remember exactly what it was. But the woman filed the complaint with the state, said that not a single person was wearing a mask and no one was social distancing. And given the nature of skateboarding, where people follow each other in a line, they're very close and it's very dangerous. And obviously, like, that's not really how people skateboard. There's no lines. Like, you're not going in a line together. Like, you're not training anything. The woman clearly didn't know anything about skateboarding. And it sounded a lot like the guy from the fire department was fairly amused by it. And then that was pretty much it. It's kind of funny. I guess it's not funny. Like, obviously I don't want there to be an issue. I don't want anyone to get sick. I don't want anyone to die. I want to be safe. I think I am a little more cautious than a lot of the customers that come into the park, but that's their right to choose. And just like they can come in and you can get hurt riding at the skate park, I mean, you can get hurt riding anywhere. You can go to the supermarket and buy food and get food poisoning. And there's a lot of risk in life. And if you want to run around and think that you could mitigate all risk and live like that, it's like, it's not how life is, I think the reason people are so laid back about it at the skate park is because, like I said earlier, they understand like life is risk management. Like, just got to be careful. Take care of yourself. Be healthy. Be smart. Don't put others at risk. It's a weird thing to talk about because I said there's so much political tension around something like this. I didn't even want to talk about it, but I did. So there it is. That was today's podcast. I don't really have any much other regular information to bring along. We've been doing a lot of ramp work at the park. I've been doing a lot of work. Things with all the added traffic, the deterioration of the ramps has gone really, really quickly. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to get fixed, and I'm fixing stuff every single week. You might not even notice it because a lot of the stuff is like, it's just things that are flexing or like something that's broken internally, and we got to get under there and resupport it, and it's bad. I will talk about some bigger projects I want to do, but there's an issue. And we did get that grant, and I was going to do a build, but the price of lumber is through the roof right now. Maybe we could talk a little economics next week. If I do it next week. I don't know. I haven't done one in like a year, so whatever. I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. Thanks for listening. Thanks for checking it out. Let me know if you have any thoughts, comments, concerns. Let me know if you want a Friday 5. Let me know if you would like to come on the podcast and talk. I think it would be really great to hear normal riders talk about why they ride or when they ride. And because, the 12-year-old riding a scooter is different than a 22-year-old riding a skateboard, which is different than the parent that rides with his son or the parent that comes to ride to get away from his family for that little break. Like, there's a lot of different people riding for a little different reasons. And I think if everyone knew, the motivations behind a lot of people's riding, I think we can get along a little bit better just having a little more context, I think everyone wins in that situation. So, again, thanks for checking it out. I don't have my computer. Maybe I'll edit in the outro music in post. Maybe I won't. But either way, thanks for listening. Walk the walk, talk the talk, shred the gnar, and I will see you at the skate park later. Thank you.